Welcome back to the program on this Saturday morning. I'm your host, Randol White, and we're coming to you live from downtown San Luis Obispo. Starting next month, we should let you know, on Crush 92.5. You may be listening to us currently on that wonderful FM station. We will come to you on Sunday mornings, this exact time, from 8 until 10. We're just switching the day so that we can accommodate our new affiliate up in the Bay Area out of Santa Cruz, and we will be broadcasting into the Silicon Valley, San Jose and such, Santa Cruz, and all of Monterey County, right to just about the Monterey County, San Luis Obispo County line, and that's where you pick us up on Crush all the way down into Santa Barbara County. So we've got most of the Central Coast covered now. I love it, but it'll just be on Sundays instead of Saturdays. That is next month. You can still catch us here through the remainder of August on Saturdays. Okay, so a book publisher contacted us, as happens from time to time, with a new book, and I've never featured a children's book before, but this one caught my eye because it's August 2012 right now, which would have been, or is, the 100th anniversary of the birth of Julia Child. She passed away several years back, but she was from Santa Barbara, our area here, or at least lived in Santa Barbara at the end of her life. And she had a very interesting relationship with a cat. And this is prior to and during her attendance at Le Cordon Bleu. I hope I said that correctly. Cooking school in France. I just kind of throw in a little bit of accent. You like that, Patty? So it's a wonderful, charming book. My good friend Bill Daly, who is one of the food editors at the Chicago Tribune, I was talking to him yesterday about it, and he said that he just loves this book. And I have to agree. I read through it and learned some French along the way. The author is Susanna Reich. She wrote Minette's Feast, and I hope I'm pronouncing the name of the cat correctly. This is the delicious story of Julia Child and her cat. Susanna, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
Nice to have you here. And you had an opportunity to meet Julia at one point and had always wanted to write a book that included her somehow. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, before I started writing children's books, I was working as a florist. And I had the chance to design the flowers for Julia's 80th birthday party in New York City. So I made centerpieces that had kitchen whisks in the middle of them, and inside each whisk was a red rose.
Oh, I like that. That's beautiful. And after that event, you thought, boy, it'd be nice. And then when you started writing books, boy, it would be nice. And then you stumbled upon Julia's cat. How did that happen?
Well, I read her memoir, My Life in France, and she talks about getting her first cat when she moved to Paris. This was back in 1948. And this cat became like a child to her. She would go to the marketplace and buy fish heads and make fish head stew for the cat and feed the cat leftovers. And there were mice in the apartment, so the cat in return would leave a mouse on the living room rug for Julia. And I just thought that was such a funny back and forth between this woman who became this famous cook and this cat.
Yeah, and it's wonderfully illustrated, the book as well, with just visuals that really help tell the story, I think. Who was your illustrator?
The illustrator is Amy Bates, and she's worked in a beautiful colors of kind of soft browns and blue greens, and really captured the city of Paris and life in that era, as well as the expressive figures of Paul and Julia and Minette.
Now, Julia grew up in, if I remember this correctly, like the Pasadena area?
Yes, she was from Pasadena.
And from a pretty well-to-do family and didn't know much about cooking initially,
right.
Correct?
Yes, she grew up in an era when people from her background had cooks, and her mother could make maybe 2 or 3 dishes. And Julia didn't know much about cooking until she moved to Paris, and then it was like a revelation.
And she brought what scared a lot of American, at that time, housewives who were doing the majority of the cooking. When someone said French cooking, your eyes opened and thought, oh, I don't even want to try to tackle a souffle or whatever it might be. Julia brought it home with her PBS television show and made everything just seem so simple and sort of took the scare out of it. Like, let's just dive into this. It's not a big deal.
Yes, she made it. Well, she had a very relaxed, natural, down-to-earth manner, and she made you believe that whatever it was, you could make it also, no matter how complicated.
Right. And then now I had an opportunity to speak with her on the phone. I never met her in person. I was helping produce a show called Dining Around up in the Bay Area, and we had a guest on the show who had made a tomato, named the Julia Child tomato in her honor for a tomato festival held up in the Monterey area. I think it had something to do with the James Beard Foundation's annual event. And so we called Julia, got her on the phone. She was in Santa Barbara at the time. And, I asked her, I said, what do you think about having a, tomato named after you? And she said, well, I think it's lovely, but I haven't had a chance to taste it yet. Have you? And I go, well, actually I did. I just tasted it, and she asked me, how was it? Did you like it? And I said, it was great. She goes, well, good. I wouldn't want an awful tasting tomato named after, That's my best Julia Child impersonation. But she was just a wonderful woman on the phone. And now, clearly, this book came out several years after her death. But have you spoken with her family about the book?
Not yet. No. It just came out, so people are just finding out about it now.
Yes. And what are you hoping that children get from this book?
Well, I think everybody loves Julia Child, and it's a way to share someone who we all love and admire with a new generation who doesn't know who she is, and find out a little bit about what she was like as a person beyond just, seeing her on television and knowing about her cookbooks.
Right. She really is gaining a little bit in popularity and fame posthumously with the release of is it Julie and Julia or Julia and Julie or
Julie and Julia?
Yeah, Julie and Julia. Boy, that really took off, and I think it's actually doing very well outside the theaters. Through Netflix and rentals and that sort of thing. I think I've seen it near the top of a lot of those lists. Now, your book, and then I was mentioning at the start of this segment, my friend Bill Daly just had an article in the Chicago Tribune yesterday on, I think it's 10 books that are currently out, just being released on her life. And I imagine many people held off to release them in August, as I had. Perhaps maybe you did the same, because this is the 100th anniversary of her birthday.
Yes, so there's a lot of attention right now because of the Julia Child centennial, and restaurants throughout the country are cooking up special Julia Child menus and serving her recipes.
We are speaking with the author of Minette's Feast by Susanna Reich. She included a lot of quotes in the book, and at the end, when you're reading, she points out that none of the conversation was made up. How did you find exact quotes to include in the book?
Well, they're all taken from either her memoir or letters that she wrote to her family and friends. And I found ways to weave those quotes into the story so they sound very natural.
They do. I like that. And one of the things that I like about the book is as you're reading it as an adult, so if you're a parent and you were to pick this up for your child and you read it together, you'll learn some French, which is kind of fun. And then at the end, you have a glossary and a pronunciation guide to help people like myself who speak no French. And so, in order to say the butcher, it is la boucher.
That's right. Yes.
And the baker is la boulanger, if I'm saying that correctly. J, I guess, with a little more of a Z in there. And then some common ones that most of us know, like cheese souffle. But I didn't know that I would have said magnifique, but it's magnifique.
That's right.
So at any rate, I appreciate that. I love it because it was fun learning some French as well. Susanna Reich, we'll put a link to your website, which is very simple. It's susannareich.com. On our website, Eat, Drink, Explore. Make it a great Saturday.
Great to talk to you.